I sat in my truck, engine off, windshield wipers smearing the rain into streaky, useless arcs. The motel parking lot was half empty except for a couple of semis and a red Mazda parked 2 rows down. I knew that car. I knew the woman who drove it. And I knew the man she followed into room 217. Lisa, my wife of 11 years. My best friend, my person, until tonight. She didn't look back once. Just pulled up, grabbed her purse, and followed him like it was routine. Like it wasn't the most gut-punching betrayal of my life. Before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? I didn't even feel the rain at first. I didn't feel anything. Then it hit me like a damn freight train, tight in my chest, like I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. I wanted to get out, bang on the door, rip that smug son of a bitch out by his collar. But I didn't move. Couldn't. I just sat there, watching the door close behind her. It felt like my whole body was rejecting what my eyes were seeing. That was my wife. My Lisa. And the guy she disappeared with? That was her boss, Clay something. Regional director at her company. Tall, fake smile, always dressed like he's about to sell you a used Mercedes. I met him once at her holiday party last year. He shook my hand like he already owned everything in the room. I'd had my suspicions. The late nights, the sudden wardrobe upgrades, the way she jumped when her phone buzzed. But I didn't want to be that guy. Jealous, paranoid, insecure. Hell, I trusted her. Stupid me. I sat there for over an hour, soaked in silence and headlights, every minute feeling like a punch to the ribs. My stomach was in knots. My mouth was dry. And my brain kept flashing back to every moment I thought we were solid. Laughing at dumb movies, building furniture for the new sunroom, holding hands at her sister's wedding. All of it, now twisted up with one question. Was it all a lie? The worst part? I didn't even know who I was supposed to be mad at more. Her, or myself for not seeing it sooner. Everything I thought I knew about my marriage, about her, about us, shattered in a matter of seconds. My whole world had a fault line running through it. And I was standing dead center when it cracked open. I gripped the wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Then I threw the truck in reverse. I needed answers. But first, I needed air. I drove aimlessly that night, rain still hammering down, just trying to stay moving. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The more I thought about it, the more it all started to line up. The signs were there. I just refused to see them. Our life used to be solid. Predictable in a good way. We were that couple who had our routines down to a science. Lisa killed it at work. She was a top seller at Havenway Furniture, one of those sleek regional chains with big warehouse showrooms and overpriced sectionals. I'm a commercial electrician. Not glamorous, but steady. Early mornings, long days. Still, I was always home by 6. I'd cook, she'd pick the show. We'd talk about our days, nothing fancy, just real life, steady life. And it used to be enough. For both of us. But a few months ago, things started shifting. Subtle at first. Lisa started working late more often. At first, she'd call or text, running behind, closing a deal. Then it became less of a warning and more of a habit. One night turned into 3. 3 turned into 5. She started dressing different, too. Not sloppy or sexy or anything like that, just sharper. More makeup, heels even on casual days, switching out her simple blouses for silk ones. She started buying those tiny perfumes in the glass bottles that cost more than my entire lunch budget for a week. When I asked about it, she brushed it off. Just trying to look the part, she said one night, tossing her heels off in the hallway. New directors pushing for higher standards. That was the first time I heard his name. Clay Decker. She said he came from corporate in Phoenix. High energy, really driven, she told me. Wants to turn things around. I remember nodding, not thinking much of it. I trusted her. Of course I did. But then her phone became another limb. Always in her hand. She'd be sitting on the couch next to me, texting with a half smile like she was in on some private joke I wasn't part of. Once, during dinner, she laughed out loud, looked up, and just said, "Work stuff." Clay's losing his mind over inventory. It felt off. Not the joke, just the way she said his name. Like they were on the same team in some inside where I didn't get. The inconsistencies started piling up. She'd mentioned a new showroom opening in Plano, but I'd later hear her tell her sister it was Frisco. She talked about planning a marketing rollout for a bedroom set one week, and then the next week acted like it never existed. I'm not a jealous guy. I'm really not. But it started to feel like I was living with a stranger who had a second life she kept tripping over trying to cover. One Saturday, I walked into the kitchen while she was on the phone. She jumped like I'd set off a firecracker. Ended the call fast, said it was a work thing, and started digging through the pantry like she'd suddenly remembered we were out of rice. We weren't. I tried talking to her, sat her down one night, and said, I feel like we haven't connected in weeks. Like you're somewhere else. She didn't deny it. Just sighed, rubbed her temples like she was the one worn out. It's work, Nate. It's been brutal lately. Clay's pushing us hard. I'm leading 2 sales teams now. I'm fried. I believed her. Or maybe I wanted to. I remember thinking, let it go. Don't be paranoid. She's stressed, not cheating. But the truth was, things between us were cooling fast. Our little joke stopped. Her hands stopped reaching for mine under the covers at night. We weren't fighting. We just weren't. Weren't talking, weren't connecting, weren't US. And I let it slide. Because marriage has seasons, right? That's what people say. Busy stretches. Stressful weeks. I figured we'd bounce back. But now, sitting in my truck that night with her car parked outside a motel room, I knew exactly what season we were in. And it wasn't passing. I turned onto Route 75, windshield wipers still working overtime, and headed home. The cracks weren't just in the routine, they were in the foundation. And I was done pretending I didn't see them. When I got home that night, I didn't say a word. Just walked through the front door, peeled off my wet jacket, and stood in the kitchen staring at the dark window over the sink. I didn't turn on the lights. Didn't need to. Everything inside me was lit up like a fuse. The next morning, I woke up with one plan. Make dinner. Real dinner. Something to remind her who we were. Maybe, somewhere deep down, I wanted her to choose us before I had to see the truth spelled out. So I took the day off work. Hit the store, cleaned the house top to bottom. I even lit a candle she used to love, vanilla something, made the whole place smell like a bakery. I grilled steaks, roasted vegetables, bought one of those overpriced mini cheesecakes from the bakery aisle. I set the table like we were dating again. Real plates, wine glasses, folded napkins. 6 o'clock came. Nothing. 6:30. No call. By 7:20, I was pacing. She finally walked in around 8, keys jangling, makeup smudged, hair in a loose bun like she'd just rolled out of someone else's bed. Her blouse was buttoned wrong. One side dipped lower than the other, showing just a little too much skin for a late meeting. She saw the table, then looked at me like I was the one who screwed up. Oh, she said, dropping her bag by the door. I didn't know we were doing dinner tonight. I pulled out a chair for her without saying a word. She sat down, started fixing her blouse like it was no big deal. Crazy day. Clay had us in meetings back to back. I didn't even get to eat lunch. I watched her push her food around the plate like it was poison. You look tired, I said, finally breaking the silence. She gave me a tight smile. I'm just stretched thin. That's all. That was her whole answer. Then she picked up her wine glass and sipped like nothing was off. But everything was off. Her story, the way her eyes never met mine. I kept hearing the sound of that motel door closing in my head like a slammed coffin lid. After dinner, she said she had to shower and finish some notes for a morning meeting. I nodded, cleaned up the dishes, and waited until I heard the water running. Then I went into the bedroom. I wasn't proud of it, but I was past the point of pride. I started with her bag, nothing. Wallet, lipstick, breath mints, receipts from Target. Then I opened the top drawer of her dresser. Buried under some folded scarves was a small leather-bound planner. Not the one she used for work. This was personal, scribbles, to-do lists, doodles in the margins. It was the kind of thing people forget they still keep when they start lying. I flipped through the pages. Grocery lists, birthdays, random reminders. Then, around mid-June, things changed. Lunch with C, same place, same time speech balloon. Clay says he sees me, not just as a worker. Heart raced. Do I want this? Or just want to feel wanted? Booked Blue Willow again. Just to talk? Doubt it. Guilt's starting to eat at me. I love Nate. Don't I? I kept flipping, hands eyes cold. C says he can open doors for me. Says I deserve better. BWN, same room. What am I doing? I think he knows. Nate's quieter lately. Every page felt like a punch. Every line tore down another piece of the life I thought we had. This wasn't just a crush. This was full-blown betrayal. And worst of all, she knew. She knew I was hurting. She wrote about it like I was some background character in her personal drama. I sat down on the edge of the bed, planner still open in my lap, the scent of that damn vanilla candle drifting in from the hall. Everything came crashing down right there. Our wedding, the vacations, the little inside jokes. The night we stayed up putting together that bookshelf, and she fell asleep in my lap. All of it felt like scenes from a movie I didn't belong in anymore. She'd left me long before that motel room. I just hadn't caught up yet. The water stopped. I shoved the planner back where I found it and stood up fast. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't even look at her. I grabbed my keys, walked out the front door, and didn't stop until I hit the road. I drove for 2 hours that night, didn't answer my phone, didn't think past the next stop sign. My body felt numb, but my head was spinning like it had been kicked open. I didn't sleep. Just laid there on the couch with the planner's words burned into my skull. By morning, I had one goal. No more doubt. I wanted to see it with my own eyes. The next night, I told her I had to work late. She didn't even blink. Just nodded and said, "Okay, babe. Be safe." Kissed me on the cheek like we were still living in the same world. I parked 2 blocks down from our house and waited. At 6:42, she walked out wearing that tight tin coat she only pulled out for special presentations. She was on her phone, laughing softly, hair pinned up like she gave a damn. She didn't even check if I was home. I followed her down the freeway, keeping back a few cars. My palms were slick on the wheel. She took the exit near Ashwood and turned into the gravel lot of the Blue Willow Inn. It was exactly what I pictured: cheap siding, flickering vacancy sign, and a couple rooms with cars parked outside. The kind of place you didn't look too hard at during daylight. She pulled into the back lot like she'd done it 100 times. And maybe she had. He was already there. Clay, leaning against his sleek black Audi like he was the star of his own pathetic rom-com. He smiled the second he saw her. She smiled back. Big. Open. No hesitation. She walked up to him, and he put his hand on the small of her back like he owned her. I looked down at the clock, 7:11. She didn't even glance around. Just walked straight into room 5 with him like it was a routine. Like I didn't exist. I sat there and waited. Rain started falling again, soft at first, then harder. I didn't turn on the wipers. Just stared at the door. 15 minutes passed. Then 20. Then 35. At 8:09, the door opened. They stepped out like nothing had happened. He leaned in, said something low in her ear, and she laughed. Actually laughed, then kissed him. Not a peck. Not friendly. Intimate. Like they'd done it 100 times before. I wanted to tear out the steering wheel. Drive through the damn wall. But I didn't move. I just memorized it. Burned it into my brain. She drove home. I waited 10 minutes, then followed. When I walked in, she was already in bed, lights off, pretending to be asleep. I stood there for a second, watching her shape under the blanket. "Lisa," I said. "Nothing." "Lisa, wake up." She shifted, then turned her head. "Hey, what time is it?" I flipped the light on. "Don't do that." She blinked, slow. "What are you talking about?" I stepped closer. "I saw you. I followed you to the Blue Willow." Her whole face froze. "You were with him. I watched you walk into that room. Don't lie to me now." She sat up slowly, pulled the blanket around her like it could protect her from what came next. "I didn't plan for it to happen," she said, voice low. It got complicated. "You cheated. I don't know what I'm doing, Nate. I feel like I'm drowning half the time." Clay, he noticed me. He listened. "It wasn't supposed to go this far. You let it go this far. I didn't mean to hurt you." I stared at her. Her eyes were shiny, her lip trembling like she was the one falling apart. I didn't buy it. I grabbed my jacket off the chair and turned for the door. "Nate, where are you going?" "Out." I didn't slam the door. I didn't need to. She knew exactly what she'd done. I spent the night in my truck, parked behind a gas station off Route 19. Engine off, windows cracked, jacket for a pillow. I didn't sleep much. Just stared at the ceiling, numb, thinking about that motel door, her laugh, the way she tried to fake sleep like I wouldn't call her on it. Around 6, I drove home. The house was quiet. I walked through the front door and straight into the kitchen. Lisa was already sitting there at the table, robe on, clutching a coffee mug with both hands like it was holding her together. Her eyes were swollen. She'd been crying, probably all night. I didn't sit. "You want to start talking now?" I said. She nodded, slow. "Yeah. I want the truth. All of it. No spin. No soft words. Just give it to me straight." She looked down, then back up. "It wasn't just me, Nate. Clay's done this before. With other women at work." "How many?" "I don't know, 3 that I know of. Maybe more. They don't talk about it. Some left the company, some got quiet and just disappeared." "And you thought what?" That you were the exception? She flinched. I thought he really saw me. Like, actually saw me. Not just as an employee. Not just your wife. Asked something more. I laughed, but there was nothing funny about it. So he feeds you a few compliments, dangles a promotion, and you just forget who you are? She swallowed hard. I wasn't happy. I was tired. Burned out. He noticed. He asked questions. He made me feel special. I cut in. She nodded. You were already special, Lisa. To me. To your family. You didn't need some suit in a glass office to tell you that. Tears rolled down her face. She didn't wipe them. I leaned in. Do you love him? She froze. Answer me. Her lips parted, then closed again. Then, I might. That broke something in me I didn't know was still holding on. I walked to the bedroom, grabbed a duffel bag from the closet, and started throwing clothes in. She followed me down the hall, barefoot, voice shaking. Please don't go. We need to talk through this. I don't need anything from you right now, I said. You already made your choice. You picked him. I didn't pick anyone. I just got lost. I didn't think you even saw me anymore. I saw you every damn day, Lisa. I just didn't think I had to compete for my own wife. She leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed tight across her chest. He's already pulling away. There's a new assistant he's taking out to lunch this week. Young, fresh out of college. Blonde. Reminds me of myself a few years ago. Jesus Christ, I muttered. I don't think it was ever about me, Nate. Not really. I was just next. That hit like a slap. It wasn't just an affair. It was a game. A pattern. And she fell for it. So what? You're just one in a long line of women this guy sweet-talked into bed, and now he's bored and moving on? I asked. She nodded. I feel sick about it. I feel used. I didn't say anything. Just zipped the bag, threw it over my shoulder. You going to your brother's? She asked. I don't know yet. I just know I can't be here. She stepped aside to let me pass. I don't expect you to forgive me. I want to figure out how I let this happen. I stopped at the front door and turned around. You let it happen because you wanted something you thought I couldn't give you. And now you're left with nothing but regret and a dirtbag boss who's already hunting his next target. She didn't argue. She didn't cry again. Just stood there, still, holding the edge of the wall like she needed it to stay upright. I opened the door and stepped into the morning light, the cold biting my skin. I didn't slam it behind me. I wanted her to hear the silence. I drove straight to the job site, threw my bag in the back of my truck, grabbed my hard hat, and went to work like nothing happened. What else was I going to do? Sit in a motel all day and spiral? I didn't say much that morning. Just kept my head down, pulling wire, cutting conduit, running circuits. I was halfway through installing a breaker panel when Curtis walked over with a coffee in each hand, and that looked like he already knew something was off. You look like hell, he said, handing me one. Didn't sleep. He leaned against the cinder block wall. Want to tell me why? I hesitated. Then I just said it. Caught my wife cheating. Curtis let out a low whistle. Damn, man. That's brutal. She's been messing around with her boss. Play something. Regional director. Met him once. Didn't like him then. Now I know why. Curtis raised an eyebrow. She worked for Havenway? Yeah. He shook his head slowly. Bro, I know that guy. I looked up. What do you mean? My cousin used to work there. Same company. Sales. Said there was a higher-up creeper always getting handsy. Always flirting with the newer girls. Thought he was invincible. Bet you anything it's the same dude. I just stood there, gripping the edge of the panel, teeth grinding. Curtis kept going. Think about it. He's in charge. He controls promotions, raises, job security. And he goes after his subordinates? That's not just cheating, man. That's abuse of power. He sweet-talked her, promised her promotions. Told her she deserved better. All that crap. That's grooming, Nate. It's not just your marriage. This guy's been doing this like it's a hobby. I didn't answer right away. Something was shifting in my gut. Up until now, all I could think about was the betrayal, me getting screwed over. But Curtis was right. This wasn't just personal. This was a pattern. And Clay wasn't stopping anytime soon. Curtis lit a cigarette and took a long drag. My cousin said she tried going to HR, but nothing came of it. No proof. They protected him. She ended up quitting. Lisa said he's already going after some new assistant. Of course he is. Guys like that don't stop until someone stops them. I went quiet. My blood was boiling, but it wasn't the same kind of rage I felt outside that motel room. This time, it wasn't just about Lisa. It was bigger. After work, I sat in my truck, engine running, staring at the steering wheel. Then I pulled out my phone and started looking up workplace harassment laws. Title 7. Quid pro quo. Hostile environment. I didn't know the terms, but I was learning fast. What Clay was doing, pressuring women with power, manipulating them under threat of career loss or false promises. That wasn't just unethical. It was illegal. I started reading about how women don't speak up because they're scared, because no one believes them, because guys like Clay cover their tracks with charm and status. And it made my blood run cold thinking about how close Lisa came to getting chewed up and spit out like the rest. I stared at her name in my contacts for a long time. Then I texted, "We need to get this all out in the open. Call me." She responded 3 minutes later. "Okay, I want that too." Lisa called an hour later. Said she was home and ready to talk. I didn't tell her where I was coming from or what Curtis had said. I just said I was on my way. When I pulled into the driveway, I sat there for a minute. The porch light was on. Kitchen window glowed warm. You'd never guess the kind of truth waiting inside. She opened the door before I even knocked. Same tired robe from yesterday, hair up in a messy knot. No makeup, eyes red but steady. "Come in," she said. We sat at the table, same spots as always. Her with her fingers curled around a chipped mug, me with my arms crossed, waiting. "All right," I said. "No more dodging. I want it all. Start from the beginning." She nodded, then took a deep breath. It started with compliments. Little ones. He'd pull me aside after meetings, say I was the smartest person in the room, that I had leadership potential, that I deserved more. Was it true? I asked. Were you trying to move up? I mean, yeah. I've been stuck at the same level for years. Clay made it sound like I'd been overlooked. He said he could fix that. And you believed him. I wanted to. I didn't realize what it was at first. It felt like mentorship. Then it got personal. He started texting outside work. Memes, jokes, compliments. I should have shut it down, but I didn't. Why? She looked me dead in the eye. Because I felt invisible. At home. At work. Like I was just running in place while everyone else was getting ahead. And then here's this guy, dressed in a suit, calling me brilliant, saying I'm wasting my talent. It hit something in me I didn't know was starving. I didn't flinch. Didn't speak. I wanted her to keep going. He started asking about my marriage. If I felt fulfilled. If I ever thought about change. Then he brought up hotels. At first, I said no. Then I didn't. You thought he loved you? No, not really. I think I told myself he did just to make it feel less dirty. And now I know I was just another notch. Another employee to him. He's doing the same thing to that new assistant, Ashley. I saw the way he talks to her. It's the same script. I leaned forward. Do you have anything? Proof? She stood up, walked to the hallway, came back with a small black folder. Inside were printed emails, screenshots, and a flash drive. I saved everything, she said. Every message, every voicemail. I even recorded one of our conversations at work when I started feeling sick about the whole thing. Just in case. I took the folder, thumbed through it. You planning to go to HR? I want to. I don't want anyone else getting pulled into this. I stared at her for a long time. She looked different. Not just broken, but grounded. Like someone who knew exactly what had happened and wasn't hiding anymore. I'll go with you, I said. She blinked. You don't have to do that. I know. I'm doing it anyway. Her voice cracked. Thank you. I'm not doing it for you, I said. I'm doing it because this guy thinks he can just keep wrecking people's lives and walking away clean. She nodded, wiping her eyes with her sleeve. I don't expect forgiveness, Nate. I don't even know if I deserve it. But I want to do the right thing now. For real. I looked at her, really looked. For the first time in a long time, I didn't just see my wife. I saw a woman waking the hell up. And finally, it wasn't about us. It was about stopping him. The next morning, Lisa called ahead and said she needed a meeting with Clay and HR. Didn't say why. Just said it was urgent. We drove there in silence. She wore a navy blazer I hadn't seen in months, hair pulled back tight, folder clutched like a weapon. Her fingers trembled a little. Mine didn't. We walked into the Havenway corporate office around 9:15. Glass walls, fake plants, fake smiles. No one questioned me as I followed her past reception. We rode the elevator to the third floor where the top brass kept their offices. I could see him before the doors even opened, Clay, standing behind his glass desk, looking over a spreadsheet like he was saving the company. He looked up, saw Lisa, and smiled like she was a warm-up act. Hey, stranger, he said. Didn't expect you today. His eyes flicked to me. Brought your husband, huh? What's this, a tag team complaint? Lisa stepped in first and handed him the folder. What's this? He asked, flipping it open. Documentation, she said. Emails, texts, audio recordings. Of everything. He scanned a few pages, then laughed. You've got to be kidding me. I'm not. He dropped the folder onto the desk and leaned back in his chair like he was about to pitch us a deal. Come on, Lisa. We had something. You're upset because it got messy and your husband found out. That's what this is. Let's not pretend this was some power play. You were into it. I stepped forward. She was vulnerable. You knew it. You used your position to manipulate her, just like you've done to others. He smirked. Oh, so now you're a marriage counselor? You're pissed because your wife made a choice that didn't include you. Don't drag my name through the mud just because you couldn't hold her attention. I clenched my jaw so hard my teeth ached. This isn't about me, I said. It's about a predator using company power to sleep with women who thought they had to say yes. Clay stood up, palms on the desk. Watch your mouth. I stepped closer. Or what? You'll screw your assistant next? Too late. That did it. His face shifted, no more fake charm. Just pure, cold anger. Right then, the HR director, a woman named Carla, knocked once and stepped in. Clay, she said. We need to take this to a private room. Now. He tried to speak, but she cut him off. Bring whatever you need. Let's go. We followed her to a glass-walled conference room at the end of the hallway. Lisa sat down first, pulled the folder back in front of her, and laid everything out like she'd rehearsed it 100 times. I want to file a formal complaint, she said. I was manipulated by a superior under promises of career advancement. It wasn't isolated. He's done this to others. And I have proof. Clay scoffed. You were a willing participant. You're just embarrassed now that your husband knows. Lisa didn't blink. I have recordings of you suggesting promotions in exchange for my silence. Telling me you'd take care of me if I kept things discreet. You were careful, but not that careful. Carla raised an eyebrow. You recorded him? Lisa nodded. After I realized it wasn't just me. I knew I needed something more than just my word. Clay opened his mouth again, but Carla held up a hand. I need to review all of this immediately. Clay, until further notice, you're on administrative leave. Effective now. You'll hand over your laptop, company phone, and access cards before leaving the building today. What? He barked. You're kidding. This isn't a debate, she said firmly. We'll be conducting a full investigation. You'll be contacted when interviews are scheduled. He turned to Lisa. You don't even understand what you just started. She stared right back at him. Yeah, Clay? I finally do. He scoffed, grabbed his phone, and stormed out. Carla waited until the door closed before turning to Lisa. I'm sorry you had to go through this. We'll take it seriously. Lisa nodded once. We didn't say much after that. Just walked out together, past the receptionist, past the fake plants, and into the bright September morning. She let out a shaky breath and looked at me sideways. That was harder than I thought, she said. But you did it. She looked straight ahead. Not just for me. And I believed her. By the end of the week, Clay was gone. HR didn't say much officially, but word spread fast. Quiet hallways, closed-door meetings, whispered phone calls. Then the floodgates opened. 3 more women came forward. Sales reps, admins, even a temp. All with stories that lined up too well. He'd been doing this for years. Lisa got called in again. This time, it wasn't a confrontation, it was an offer. They gave her 2 options. Take his position or take a severance package and walk away. She didn't hesitate. Told them she was done. Said the office was too full of ghosts. When she came home, she didn't look relieved. She looked hollow, like she'd been holding herself up for days and finally let go. I started seeing someone, she said one night as we sat on opposite ends of the couch. My heart stuttered. What? A therapist, she added quickly. Not, God, no. Not another man. I mean a real therapist. I nodded, slowly. Good. I think you should come too. Not for us, just for you. For everything. I didn't answer right away. Just stared at the muted TV. Some home renovation show playing to no one. I'll think about it, I said. And I did. I really did. We kept living under the same roof, but in separate rooms. No touching. No late-night talks. Just quiet, awkward peace. Lisa kept going to therapy, twice a week, sometimes more. She journaled. Read books. Took long walks. Started cooking again. Real meals, not frozen crap. She didn't push me. Didn't try to make big speeches or beg for closeness. She just did the work. And slowly, I noticed. One night, she knocked on my door and held up her phone. "Got this today," she said. "Wanted to show you." It was a text from a young woman named Ashley. The new assistant Clay had been eyeing before everything blew up. "Hey, I heard what you did. Thank you." I didn't know how to handle him, but I saw what he was trying. "You saved me from something I wasn't ready for." I handed the phone back. "She's lucky." Lisa shrugged. "She's smart. I just got there first." There was a long pause. Then I said it. "You've changed." She looked at me, quiet for a beat. I had to. That was the first night I didn't feel bitter. Still hurt, still unsure, but not numb. We started talking more. Short conversations in the kitchen. Sharing coffee in the morning. Therapy became a shared thing, once a week, then twice. Sometimes we sat in silence for the full hour, just trying to hear each other again. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy, but it was something. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I wasn't sure what the future looked like, but I wasn't afraid to find out. We took the weekend off and drove up to the Blue Ridge Mountains, just the two of us. Cabin rental, no TV, spotty cell signal. Lisa packed trail mix and books. I brought coffee and boots. The drive was quiet but not tense. Just peaceful. We'd come a long damn way to get here. The first morning, we woke up early and hit a trail behind the cabin. It was mid-October, cool but sunny, trees full of reds and golds. I had one hand in my jacket pocket. The other was wrapped around hers. It still felt weird sometimes, holding her hand, trusting her again. But I did it anyway. We walked in silence for a while, the crunch of leaves underfoot filling the gaps. No big talk, no drama, just us, present. Lisa had a new job now, smaller firm, less pressure, way better boundaries. She worked 9 to 5 and left work at the door. It made a difference. So did counseling. I won't say it fixed us. Nothing ever really does, but it gave us the tools. We rebuilt slow, brick by brick. Some nights were hard. Some still are. But we kept showing up. At the overlook, we stopped to take it all in. She leaned against the rail, wind in her hair, that old familiar quiet smile back on her face. "I didn't think we'd make it," she said. "Neither did I. But I'm glad we did." I nodded. "Me too." She reached for my hand again. I didn't pull away. Truth is, I still remembered everything. The lies. The hotel. The pain. But it didn't own me anymore. I didn't wake up angry. Didn't fall asleep bitter. I still guarded my heart, sure, but I wasn't shut off from her. Somewhere along the way, I'd started to feel again. She turned to me. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "I really am." We walked back down the trail slowly, not in any rush. And for once, there wasn't this heavy thing hanging between us. Just cautious hope. Real, earned hope. 1 year ago, I watched my marriage die. Today, I watched it breathe again. Would you have taken Lisa back after everything? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like and subscribe for more stories just like this.